With all the movies that I've seen, I've developed a pretty detailed system of judging them. And the best part, the process is so easy that I can't help but do it subconsciously. I realized that just uneducatingly say, that was a good movie, or that was a bad movie, wasn't enough. There is so much that goes into making a good movie, and I really want to see how it all comes together. So today, I'm breaking down exactly how I judge movies. Hello everyone, I'm Bree. I'm an aspiring actress learning about the film industry on my own. No professional training here, all just research. If you are here to explore this crazy industry, you are in the right place, so please subscribe. Alrighty, let's get back into it. Alrighty, I'm actually so excited to make this video because on my Instagram, if you follow me, I always post a story whenever I watch a movie. And that story always has a 5-star rating and then a little comment, and then the picture in the movie theater of the movie. And I realized that I have an extremely detailed process of how I do these things. And I have a horrible memory, which is kind of funny. But I have a way of like remembering all these details at the beginning of movies, so then at the end I can like see how it all connected to the beginning if it's good. So I'm gonna take you guys through the process of what I do, because honestly I think it's super useful, it's super easy, and yeah, it's just, you'll start to appreciate movies more if you start doing these things. So number one, I start watching the movie. Whether it's at home or in the movie theater, I just start watching the movie. And instantly, I start looking for the setup of the plot. And essentially what that is like at the beginning of the first Star Wars movie, you see, like, number 4, you see Princess Leia on the ship and she has to get the plans out. And you understand that it's like important kind of a thing, and then it lands to Luke and you're like, oh, he's going to help save the princess. Like, that was a horrible retelling of that, but essentially that's the setup. So I look for that, and then I use bullet points mentally to keep track of like what's happening. It's like, okay, so the princess, then there's Luke and he's gonna rescue her, then there's that other guy who was friends with Luke's dad, but Luke's dad is gone, he lives with his aunt and uncle, and then like Han Solo comes in the picture and he has a ship, but Han owes money. Like, then I start just kind of creating like, okay, so I'm trying to get, it's like I'm getting to know everyone, essentially. And then I start looking for cinematography and creativity. And essentially it's not like, I'm like, okay, did they do these shots right? Does this look visually like appealing? But if I'm watching the movie and I kind of like, I will notice if it's good or if it's bad. For example, I watched Trap at the beginning of August. That movie was absolute garbage. And from the start, I realized how unproportionate everything was. Like, here's the thing I always talk about. Rule of thirds. I have my rule of thirds grid on actually right now. That's my rule of thirds. There were 2 lines like this to get tickets at the beginning of the movie. It was off like this. And then the rest of this was just blank. And it was off, like, and he wasn't even, like, ugly. So, yeah. Anyway, but kind of how I do have like a little bit of a rating system with the cinematography. As I got basic, which means like it's just they put a camera, push record kind of a thing. Basic, standard, which is like, okay, that was just like, wasn't bad, wasn't good, it was just like, you know, like textbook. Then there's advanced, which is like, okay, I can see that they put a little bit more effort. And then I have the Lord is blessing my eyes. And that's the shots that are just like transitions from like one scene to the other. I was watching The Mummy with my sister, and there's a scene where I love transitions. I always have, and if you follow me on my Instagram, you know that that's all I do. But she picks up the map, she's looking at it, and then what the camera did is it did this like little like sweep, and then it switched up to the next scene of the other guy reading the map.
You see the cartouche there? It's the official...
It's so nice. Like that, they put effort into that. And it was just satisfying to watch. Or if like this shot is just beautiful and you're just like, wow. That's when it's like, okay, this is good. They put way more effort into cinematography. Then the third thing that I pay attention for is acting and score. And once again, it's not like once I like watch a couple scenes of the cinematography, I'm like, okay, next to the next thing. I notice these things as like the setup is happening and just like throughout the whole movie. And the acting and score is like, does the acting feel like they're acting, or am I forgetting that I'm watching a movie? And that's the thing. A lot of acting recently has been super cheesy, which I understand is hard to do. Like, I'm an actress, but it's possible to make it look convincing. Like, I just watched the movie White Bird. I'm trying to remember how... It was a good movie, yeah. I have no problems with that movie. It was a good movie. It was like 4.5 stars because I can never rate anything 5 stars. Unless it's Elvis. I love that movie. But that movie even has issues. I just say 5 stars because, yeah. Anyway, but like the acting was good. Like, it was just good. But then, and even We Live in Time was really good acting too. The only problem with that one was editing and just like the overall storytelling of the story. It wasn't good. It could have done really well, but they decided to try to be quirky and it did not work out. And if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, but a bad actor that, like, I'm just gonna refer everything to Trap. Honestly, if you're a constant subscriber and you're always watching my videos, you should just watch Trap so you can know what I'm referencing because it's so bad. But essentially, there's the main guy was actually really good, but the daughter was a horrible actress, the pop star was a horrible actress. Everybody else kind of sucked, but he did an okay job. Like, that's the thing. I wasn't convinced. It just looked like I was watching a really crappily put together movie. But yeah, and then score is if it fits the vibe or not. And like, for example, Dune is one of the best movies I've ever seen because it was just so, like, visually appealing. The acting was great. The story is really, really good. I remember when Mia watched that movie, she was like, I think she had to leave or something just because she felt like this, like, overwhelming existential dread. And that's good to get that feeling from the movie, you know? Like, and I agree, because you start seeing, like, all these problems happening and then, like, the commotion of the movie and you start just being like, what are they gonna do? And that's good. So, yeah. That movie's great. And that score just fits the vibe. Like, could you imagine if it was something like Pirates of the Caribbean, where it's just like, during all the scenes where it's showing the sun, it's just like, dun 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 dun, like, that just wouldn't fit. But then, like, like, that was just perfect. So, yeah. If it fits the vibe, bueno. If I'm like, here's the thing. If you feel it, like, blending with the movie perfectly, then it's good. But if you feel like it's the movie, you're watching the screen and then you're hearing something, that's when you know it's not good. Then it'll be like 50% through the movie, and I label this one as the immersion test. If I forget that I'm in the theater, then it's great. That means it's already a really good movie. If I'm, like, constantly aware of, like, okay, I need more popcorn because I'm getting bored. Oh, I actually kind of really need to pee. When is it over? It's only been 20 minutes since the last time I checked my clock, kind of thing. Like, that's when you know it's not a good movie. But if you kind of forget about it and then you're like, oh, I've just been sitting in a chair this whole time, that's when I label it as, like, okay, this is a good movie. Number 5, the 75% plot twist. And I put in quotations, haha, nice. And essentially, if I think to myself, haha, nice, then it's good. Because, like, I'm never like, oh my gosh, I never saw that coming. Because I see every plot twist come. Except for Walking Dead. That's a series I've been watching recently. I haven't predicted a single thing from that show. It's whack. Yeah, so I don't really get shocked by movies. But if I'm like, okay, that was nice, I like how it all put together. But if it's like a cheesy one where it's a superhero movie and then they lose their powers at the end, or their powers are never really real, or someone they love died, or they found out that someone was like a fake, like, boring. No one wants to watch that kind of a thing. So, and every movie has a 75% plot twist. And that's also why I hate rom-coms, because rom-coms is the same thing every single time. They're like, I can't do this anymore. We have to break up. Like, we just don't work. And then they get back together again. Like, everybody knew that was going to happen. Also, I've never seen a rom-com without the 75% plot twist. But, yeah, it's either, like, they break up because they're like, we're not meant for each other. And then they're like, actually, we're perfect. Or, like, one character didn't realize how much they actually cared for the other character, which is also satisfying. I do like those occasionally. Number 6, my second to last point, is the ending. If I'm sitting there in the theater, I'm watching it, then it ends and it goes to credits, I will, if it's a good movie, I always go, that was good. But if I don't, then I just, like, and the thing is, though, is, like, if it's a bad movie and you're watching it with me, you'll be hearing me talk about it the whole time. Like, I'll just be, I do this every single time. I'll be watching it like this, and I'm like, and it's not even like, oh my gosh, the characters are making a stupid decision. It's like, the directors are being dumb, the writing is dumb, the whole plot is just dumb. Like, when I was watching We Live in Time with my cousin and my sister, like, we were just, like, side-eye each other. We're like, what is this? So, yeah. Or just, like, leading, like, I'm confused. What's going on? But if you don't hear from me the whole movie, that means I'm enjoying it. Anyway, the number 7, we have the overall feel. And that is essentially, did I feel good about that movie? Like, for example, like, Whitebird. Did I ask for that movie? No. Is it typically in my genre of movies I watch? No. I don't really like World War II movies. But I did actually really enjoy it. I had nothing really to complain about. I thought it was a really sweet story, and I'm glad that they told it. Like, I think it was actually really good. Yeah, so it's just the overall feeling is like, would you, if it started replaying again, would you sit and watch it again? Essentially. So, yeah. And I acknowledge that formula storytellings exist, and like most movies are that way, but that doesn't make it bad. So, like, I'm always talking about how Hollywood needs to stray from formula storytellings in some ways. Like, we don't need to make everything exact copy and paste, but there is a structure that we need to follow. But just because it fits in the formula doesn't make it bad. Like, you can do a formula, like, rom-com, and make it still good, if that makes sense. So basic essentially could be good still. So yeah, that's essentially just my process of how I judge movies. And, yeah, so now I'm going to talk about there's definitely some outside facts that come into play that I do consider while I'm, like, debating if I like the movie. And, for example, like, the reason why I even gave We Live in Time the time of day is because I love Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield. So that's my first topic, is the person that the actor is. I'm not super into, like, cancel culture or, like, actually, that's a lie. I only participate in cancel culture if I agree with the person, of course. Like, agree with what they're trying to cancel. Like, Rachel Zegler. She had her time. She could have done well, but then she decided to get really cocky and arrogant. And I don't like her. If you want to hear me talk a little bit more about her, go watch my Feminism and Politics in the Film Industry. That is quite the video. That's the closest I'll ever get to sharing any of my political views. Essentially, because I don't think it's necessary for me to share it. So if the actor is like, or like Blake Lively, I can't watch a movie with her in it without being like, ugh. I just don't like Blake Lively. Which it's hard for me because I'm a tall girl. She's taller than me, just by a little bit. I'm pretty sure like a couple like inches. No, just like an inch. So like I naturally just love all the female actors or influencers or celebrities that are like my height. So that's like Zendaya, Blake Lively, Taylor Swift. There's a couple other ones. Like I naturally just like already I'm like, okay, then I'll support you kind of a thing. Which people are like, Taylor Swift, yes, she's tall. So anyway, but yeah, even with Blake Lively being tall, I'm still like, no. Anyway, another big thing I think about is the message of the film. If you even have to be like, what was the message of the film? That's not good. For example, We Live in Time, the message of that is like she wanted to like, I actually don't even know the message of that one. Essentially, it was like, live your life. Don't just be someone's dead mom. But then, that movie actually was a horrible example. Scratch that. For example, Whitebird, the message of the film was kindness. And like, it's important to be kind. Like, I think that was actually a story worth telling. Even though it was fictional, I really, really, really liked it. Because it was an overall really happy feeling, and like the way it ended, I have chills thinking about it. Like, it was just sweet. For example, like Zootopia, I have a little issues with that because the message of the film is anyone can be anything, which is sweet for some aspects, but you can lean a little too far over to one side, you know, which I don't think should happen. Oh, another thing is if the trailer was misleading, as in like improper advertising, and essentially We Live in Time was definitely improperly advertised because that movie should have been amazing. Or Joker, like the second Joker movie, the way me and my cousin were so excited for that movie, we were like, this is gonna be good because it's gonna be fun to see like this kind of character do this, but like that movie strayed so far from it. So like improper advertising really drives me crazy. Or if the trailer didn't give the movie as much like hype it deserved, which also irritates me because like Whitebird actually was exactly what I expected it to be, which I think was actually very refreshing. Oh, if the cast enjoyed promoting the movie. If you, like, I'm so excited for Wicked because the actors are so excited for it. Like, you've seen all the interviews of, like, them getting emotional because they're so excited for everyone to see it. That makes me want to go see it. And that's a big thing, is, like, people will enjoy things that other people enjoy. Like, it brings people joy to see other people, like, joyful. But, for example, like, It Ends With Us, that had so much drama around the whole press tour and stuff. I didn't want to see the movie because I'm like, I don't even want to like open the door to the drama of this kind of a thing. Like, no. Ooh, another big thing is fact checking. For example, in February, the historical month of my 2024, there's so many things that happen in that month. But the historical thing happened that changed my life for the better was I watched Elvis. And when I was first watching that movie, I was confused because I had never seen anything about it. All I saw was Austin Butler got bullied for having an Elvis voice. And I was like, oh, what's that movie? And then I found it on Netflix while I was on vacation. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch it. And I did. It started out, I was like, what is going on? And I'd never known anything about Elvis. I had listened to some of his songs, but it was never anything particular. And I literally, as I'm watching it, I was like, okay, whatever, okay. Then it ended and I was like, yeah. It was kind of meh. It was really overhyped. And then I started researching. I was like, I wonder how accurate this was. The way it was almost accurate, like, to the T. It was like, I'm pretty sure it's like a 97% accuracy, or like 95, because the only things that were added to it or taken away was just to make it fit into, like, a film, if that makes sense. Which I think is really, really impressive. Or, like, they had to assume it because, you know, there's, like, scenes with, like, Elvis and Priscilla. Like, who knows what they were talking about in real life then. So, which I think is super cool. So that's another thing that I do, is I fact check. So, if it was accurate, or, like, even if their clothing is accurate, like, if they put effort into, which is in the movie, though. But, yeah. Yeah. And for, like, adaptations and stuff, like, did they portray the original characters well, is technically what I'm looking for. The other thing I look for is Oscar awards and nominees. So, like, if it was like, oh, this was nominated for blah, 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 then I'm like, okay, that's interesting, you know? And it's interesting to see, like, if, like, it's an Academy Award winner actress as the lead, or the side character, like, that's something that I look at it and I'm like, okay, interesting. But if the movie doesn't have it, I'm not like, oh, it's gonna suck. But if it's there, I'm like, okay, interesting. So, like, people actually thought about this movie. But yeah, so those are kind of the things that I think about more like second thought, and those are way more subconscious and stuff. Like, I'm never like, okay, let's go see if they have any Oscar awards. Anyway, so that's all I really have to talk about. But yeah, essentially my 5-star ratings are rare. But yeah, and I'm not saying like you have to do this so then you can start posting it on your Instagram whenever you watch a movie. Like, I just do that just because it's like a record of what movies I watch, and then it's also like recommending it for you guys. Or if you've already seen the movie and you agreed with me, you can DM me. I love chatting about that stuff with you guys. So yeah, it's fun though. Like, I love watching movies because there's so much to look for in it, which is so fun. And there's something about, like, this is when the movie goes good. This process is good. But when the movie starts going bad, that's when I point out, like, script errors, editing problems, like, improper so many things. Like, it's just fun. So yeah. Anyway, that's today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Join the Cinephile Club. Go watch my other videos. And I'm so excited for next week. Sorry, I'm like playing with 50 billion things constantly. I'm so excited for next week because my next week's video is going to be the influence of classic literature into modern movies, which is going to be super fun to talk about because if I become a director, what I essentially want to be doing is, like, taking something that's old and then just making it new with like a little twist to it. Which I sound like JoJo Siwa being like, I'm the first of my generation to do this, but I think we could do a little bit more of it, if that makes sense. Like, for example, I had a really good idea the other day. Oh, like, even if it's just like if I did the story of Ruth, but she's on a pirate ship. You know, like Ruth from the Bible. That could be fun. But essentially, like, you know, just like taking something and kind of revising it a little bit. But yeah, that's gonna be fun to talk about because then we get to see how it's working currently. So yeah, definitely go check that out then, and I'm so excited to see you then. Go watch my other videos if you want more context. Definitely go watch Trap now because I'm always referencing it. Okay, thank you so much for joining. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye!